and welcome. I'm Harriet Agbenyi. Tonight, PortHarcourt Refinery set to resume production as Minister of State for Petroleum gives a one-week timeline for completion of ongoing repairs. Vandals of petroleum products in the country now face prosecution and stand forfeiting their properties. Nigerians still in festive mood troop out to fun spots in continuation of the Yuletide celebrations. And a Christmas Day bushfire destroys more than 100 homes in Australia's Victoria State, although no injuries are reported.
And on Business News tonight, London shoppers defy the cold weather for the annual Boxing Day sales on Oxford Street as Yuletide celebration continues today.
On sports news tonight, Manchester United boss Louis van Gaal hints he could quit his role as manager after Stoke City condemned his side to a fourth straight defeat. Well, all seems set for the PortHarcourt Refinery to start production in the next 1 week. This is coming from the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Pt.1, during his visit to the plant in Eleme in Rivers State. He was there to inspect the repair work done at the plant. Our correspondent, Emmanuel Erei, reports.
The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Pt.1, saw management staff of the PortHarcourt Refinery come together in the premises of the plant in Alessa, Eleme in Rivers State. The Minister is here to inspect the level of repair work done so far at the refinery and its readiness to start production.
A lot of this work, we've had to do through very intensive manual laboring with the staff who are here. Largely because lack of sufficient funding has not enabled us to do the kind of holistic changes we need. That's going to still come to support them, but I think what the sort of confidence I'm getting from them is that we can continue to keep this place running while we're doing all that to get it better. So they've done a great amount of work, been able to self-repair, been able to look for local parts, a lot of praises for local content in this country.
The PortHarcourt Refinery has a combined production capacity of over 5 million litres of PMS per day, and the Minister says getting the nation's refineries to work at full capacity is the way to go.
I understand about 5.5 million litres cumulatively, and that's PMS. You also have some AGO, you have some plus household Kero. And others. So quite a lot of, where we would love to be is to have at least half of the consumption of this country out of our refineries at a minimum, which is about 20 million litres. But where we are right now with the sort of sleepless nights I've had in the last 3 weeks, any molecule right now is an advantage. So we'll start with 5. Kaduna, I think, is doing about 2 or 3, 2 point something now, so that's 7 there. And that's still at 60% performances. I'm going to be challenging to sort of upgrade those performances. Those 60 numbers are not usually my happy numbers. So I'd like to see them getting closer to 80 to 90. By the time they do that, we're probably getting close to 11, 12 million litres out of this place. But let's even start, and then we're taking the problem as we come to them.
For the Minister, the upscaling of the nation's refineries, ensuring transparency and subsequent reduction in the importation of petroleum products will add up to ultimately make scarcity to be a thing of the past in the country. Emmanuel Erei, Channels Television News.
Well, the Managing Director of the Pipeline and Products Marketing Company Limited, PPMC, Mrs. Esther Nnamdi Ogbueh, has warned that any oil pipeline vandal caught will be prosecuted and their assets destroyed to serve as a deterrent. Mrs. Nnamdi Ogbueh, who was en route to Lagos, where some pipeline vandals were apprehended on Christmas Day, close to Lagos, said the pipelines are the only effective way to distribute petroleum products nationwide and must be allowed to function. She said destroying the products siphoned by the vandals is no longer an option, as the vandals must be made to suffer the loss until they are completely eliminated.
Oil pipelines in Nigeria serve 2 main purposes: to distribute crude oil to Nigeria's 3 refineries for processing and to distribute refined petroleum products across the country for easy supply to petrol stations. Frequent pipeline vandalism has made these two functions far-fetched for several years. Managing Director of the Pipeline and Products Marketing Company, Esther Nnamdi Obwe, said the recent engagement of private security agencies has broken the chain of vandalism. She said vandals caught so far will be handed over for law enforcement and their assets destroyed as deterrents.
On our way to Lagos, mostly, where vandals were caught tapping our pipeline. They had actually filled one tanker and they were moving to the second truck when they were caught.
The trucks, of course, will be destroyed. I mean, your assets that you use in deploying all these criminal activities, you are going to destroy them.
The target by the NNPC and PPMC is to repair the pipeline's routes from Lagos and PortHarcourt. This will make it possible to pump fuel all the way through Lagos, Ibadan and Ilorin to relieve the coastal cities and bridge the north, and from PortHarcourt through Makurdi and up to Yola. While these are on, the PPMC boss says real-time tracking of petrol distribution trucks will commence fully by January 2016. This will totally eliminate diversion of petroleum products and the resultant scarcity of fuel. Omelogo, Nadi Channels Television News.
Whilst holiday celebrations continue, troops of the 75 Strike Group Battalion of the Nigerian Air Force have been charged not to relent in their fight against insurgents. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Abubakar Siddiq, gave this charge during a visit to the troops in Yola, the Adamawa state capital. Air Marshal Siddiq commended the officers and men for their efforts in reducing terrorism in the northeast, especially in providing logistics support.
This is the flight line of the 75 Strike Group of the Nigerian Air Force in Yola, Adamawa State. Here, officers and men are seated as an august guest is present. The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Abubakar Siddiq, who is on a thank-you visit at this time of the year.
The purpose of my visit to Yola is first and foremost to convey Mr. President's greetings to our pilots and our technicians who have been doing an excellent job in the Northeast to deal with the internal security or insurgency problems that we're having here in the Northeast.
After addressing the officers, the commander of the strike group expresses appreciation over his visit to the men on the war front.
We promise that we'll bring this war to a decisive end by God's grace, and this will do what it is within our power to assist the army to occupy the remaining territories we have.
The morale of the troops was obviously boosted by the visit.
The Chief of the Air Staff, it's like a father that has sent his children out on a mission and going to visit them to tell them he's happy with them in their performance, how they've been doing. So to us, it's a rare privilege that we have the Chief of the Air Staff in our midst to eat what we are eating. There's no discrimination, is what we are eating is eating. So we feel highly delighted to have the Chief of the Air Staff amongst us.
We thank God today that the Chief of Air Staff that we are having is so concerned in making all our helicopters functional and operational at all the day and night that we are ready to we want to use it.
Before the Chief of Air Staff leaves town, it takes time to shake hands with the troops. While they give the traditional salute to bid him farewell.
Well, the Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase, says construction of more than 25,000 housing units for policemen is underway across 4 zones in the country. In an interview with Channels TV, after addressing members of the Oyo State Police Command in Ibadan, Mr. Arase restated his commitment to the welfare of the policemen. According to him, the first 100 units will be ready for use in the first quarter of next year and handed over to the officers. The police authorities have also introduced a new scholarship scheme for children of police officers and men.
The first set of those houses are presently by December or early January. We must have been able to deliver them. The first 100 that we are building in 4 locations, we should be able to deliver them. It's not about rhetorics or playing to the gallery. I am passionate about them. I consider myself extremely lucky, and God has touched me profoundly. What else do I have to give to them if not, also touch them the way that God has touched me? So I'm not here to promise them anything that I cannot fulfill. There are things that are well thought out. The second aspect of it is the scholarship scheme. The scholarship scheme has been incorporated as a trusteeship, where I expect that most Nigerians, corporate organizations should be able to key into and make some donations and touch the lives of these our officers who have died fighting crime, and even those ones who are alive, the inspectors and rank and file. How much will it take to send their children to good schools? Otherwise, we'll be creating another social monster in the future if they are not properly trained. About the barracks, yes, most of them are very, very bad. They've been neglected for a very long time. But what I'm trying to do now is to reach out to some corporate organizations.
The Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase. Now, in the spirit of the season, the Abia State Governor, Dr. Okezie Ekpeazu, has ordered the release of 20 prisoners convicted for various offences. Their release was targeted to coincide with the Boxing Day holiday. The prisoners were released on the advice and recommendation of the Abia State Advisory Council on Prerogative of Mercy, headed by the State Attorney General, Ume Kalu. In part 2, after the break, Nigerians are still in celebration mood as families take time out to relax at fun spots across the country. Stay with us.